All right, so my man Al writes in, and Al's a good contributor to the channel here. He says, Josh, he emailed me. He goes, you seem really emotional about the 4% rule. He goes, are you okay? What's your hostility towards it? Well, my hostility towards it is simple. Is that it's the simplistic nature that allows people without any thought process to glom onto this as if it's some spoken truth. And it's simply not. It's simply not. And people are designing their retirement plans by either hiring a professional or watching the bogleheads of their own ignorance. And again, ignorance just means they don't know. It doesn't mean they're stupid. Because they've read some freaking blogger or they read some financial journalist, and we all know what journalism means, right? That says the 4% rule is sacrosanct. It's not. It's not. So people are delaying retirement. And now that we have this woke brigade, these SJWs taking over now, it's not just the academy anymore. Now it's literally in corporate America as well. People are going to freaking sell their souls to keep their job when they might not have to. Anyway, just going back to that's Murray Rothbard, by the way. Enemy of the state. We need more enemies of the orthodox of social justice warriors. And as such, that means you got to free yourself from your crappy old job. And if one of the ways I can show people that the 4% rule is based on, I get it, man. I'm a heretic saying this, but it can never be implemented the way it's designed. It can never be. It just, in terms of the previous, could you implement, say, sure. You can also implement 5%, 3%, all that stuff. But the idea that 4% rule gives us a safe withdrawal rate, that's where you start your foundation. Based on what? Well, based on a guy who had written about the 4% rule, which he could never have done because it's impossible. All right. The reason I hate this stuff, because economics, let me just give an example. I studied economics, all right? So I love economics, a big fan, first time, long time. And in economics, we used to have this thing called the Phillips curve. That's not good. And so economics, to my forever derision, has gone completely mathematics. It's complete. You cannot be in economics unless you study econometrics, mathematics, and all these equations to try to prove that they're hard science. They're not. It's all fake. And what happens in the Paul Samuelson worlds and whatnot of economics, we have this thing called the Phillips curve. And the Phillips curve says, here's unemployment. So we're going to use unemployment. All right. And unemployment goes down. All right. So what happens when unemployment goes down? Inherently, what has happened? What does that mean? Inflation goes up. All right, so we have inflation. So unemployment goes down, inflation goes up. So what's the corollary of inflation going up? Let's see if I can do this. Yeah, okay. All right, so unemployment goes down, inflation goes up. What happens to interest rates? I'm going to put it here. It might not really be, but it doesn't matter. I don't care. Interest rates go up to deal with inflation. So we're going to tighten the money supply, which will decline economic growth, which will lead to unemployment now going back up, which makes inflation go back down, makes interest rates go back down. In fact, you could even put on the same graph, you could put inflation and interest rates on the same thing. It doesn't matter. So basically the point of, you have unemployment dropping, then you have inflation going up because more people have jobs. They can command a higher salary, higher wage. A higher wage leads to more inflation, and as such, you have interest rates to go up to fight the higher wages, to fight the higher inflation. Higher interest rates puts a ding on economic expansion because they're tightening the money supply, which reduces inflation, and then it'll go back as a cycle. It's so freaking simplistic, and yet that is, again, I don't know if it's still taught in economics courses. I bet it probably is. That's macroeconomics, and it's a complete facade, man. It's complete fake. And just look at Japan. I mean, we see the number. I mean, hell, it used to be, 5% used to be full employment. Now it's like freaking 4%, and we have no inflation. I mean, it can ebb and flow, but certainly not to the extent that we have freaking hyperinflation, 1970 style inflation. It's simply not there. Japan's got no inflation. The whole world has no inflation, even though the amount of government debt out there is huge. And they say too, well, going back to economics, all right? Increasing government debt, what's that going to do to interest rates? It's going to increase interest rates. Increasing government debt increases interest rates, and we have no evidence of that. I bet they still teach this in school too. Why is that a fallacy? Simply because government debt has been going through the roof, interest rates are way down. Well, it's falsely held down by the federal banks or the ICB, all that stuff, or the ECB and the Bank of BOJ, Bank of Japan. Okay, when you still look at private debt, long-term rates are still low as they've ever been. Government debt has gone through the roof. The point being, these are the orthodox scenarios which have led to chaos in economics. All right, they've led to countries following these orthodox, which are completely fallacies, man. All right, so now we go from the macro, which is this kind of crap, which is fake. Then we go to the micro, which is your ability as an individual to retire based on a 4% rule, which is inherently flawed from the get-go. All right, now we got another part, the climate scientists. 97% of scientists agree that humans have a significant, the 97% thing. All right, and 97% of scientists don't. It's the whole thing's freaking stupid. I'm not going to get into the whole thing with John Cook and his silliness in Australia, even though he's the beginning of the one to doubt this. But anyway, I'm not getting it. I follow it. I enjoy it immensely. It's all fraud. It's all fraud. But no one wants to think this. They just want to read the headline, and it creates a certain aura that says the 97% fallacy. Obama spied this freaking crazy. Scary Kerry, John Kerry said this. All the leftists say this. And the point being, my friends, there are people's lives at stake because of the actions of government, of corporate America, of your own actions, which come because having not enough knowledge of how these numbers are concocted. Well, everyone says the 4% rule is the way to go, thus it must have some legitimacy to it. Okay. Everyone says 97% must have legitimacy to it. No, all the economists say, all the cool economists say, the Phillips curve must have legitimacy to it. No, all the doctors said I don't have to wash my hands when I'm delivering babies in Vienna back in the late 1800s. Ignaz Semmelweis says, wash your freaking hands, man. You'll save lives. No, we're following the orthodox. Yes, I do go against the orthodox. I challenge it. I remember freaking Atkins. Remember Dr. Atkins? There's another guy who challenged Ansel Keys in the health industry, nutrition industry in the 70s, and they freaking banished him. How many people then gave up bacon and eggs and whole milk for skim milk, high fats, high carbs, high sugars, but low fats, high carbs, high sugars, lots of grains, and instead they were just doing the exact opposite. Now we have obesity like you wouldn't believe. In fact, we went to a church online today because it's Palm Sunday. I know Catholics celebrate Palm Sunday. I don't know if other denominations of Christianity do, but we do. And I'm just watching, I'm on there, I'm seeing these huge morbid, obese people. I'm like, it's all because they're fed a freaking, they're fed a lie. And it just, I'm watching it on the screen, I'm like, damn, man, it's sad. Morbidly obese people who are fed a lie on their health. And it's like you're fed a lie on your health, you're fed a lie on your money, you're fed a lie on economics, you're fed a lie on the 97% climate change stuff. And the people are being fed this crap and this tripe. And they're saying, there's no way I'm just going to follow what everybody else says. And they're literally killing themselves. They're killing themselves. And I'm sitting there thinking, that's why I take this, because the financial planning industry is my profession. And if I can help get these people kicking or screaming or freaking just with the force of my emotions to say, think differently. Like Apple used to say, think different. Remember that? If I could get Tim Cook, my butt. If I could just get them, say, I talked to a guy on Friday, he called me. He's a financial planner. I told him, dude, we had a good hour-long conversation. Good guy. I said, man, you got to do more videos because you're fighting a good fight. He deals with a lot of federal employees and stuff, and I don't. It's not Chris Barfield. I don't want to say his name. He didn't necessarily say I could or could not, so I just don't want to. I said, unless he tells me. But anyway, I did a video on him. I watched one of his videos or one of his articles, and I said, dude, that's fantastic. And he'd been reaching out to me, and he finally said, hey, got some downtime when I was driving. Give me a call. So I'm trying to bring the industry by hook or by crook, one person at a time, to say the grass is greener. The grass is greener. The grass is greener. Now, I am a Christian, I will tell you. And right now, it's becoming less and less the cool kid to be a Christian. Well, I'm always going to be, and here's what here's the thing. I always say to myself, I wish and I hope I will never know. I hope I never have to challenge myself. Would I have been on the side of the tyrants in Arkansas and the tyrants in the slaves trades and the tyrants that were saying we're going to put people to war in World War I, Or would I have been on the Eugene Debs side? All right, he was a socialist in the 1970s, went to jail for preaching against the war. Would I have been on the side of the abolitionists in the 1860s? I don't know. I think I probably would. But it's easy to go along with the grain. It's hard to go against it. And the 4% rule is going against the grain because it is ingrained in our vernacular as if it has some kind of basis to it. It just does not. So I'm not angry against the 4% rule or Bill Bengen or the Trinity study. I'm saying, even Bill Bengen says this. He goes, look, I use, 5% now? I could not agree more. And here's, just let me, so you can visualize this, man. Let me just visualize this. Why do you think, I don't want to say the V word, because if I said the V word, I'll get banned. But why do you think I said, I have 4 kids. My wife and I have 12. Between me and my wife and our siblings, there's 12 of us. Not one of us has allergies. One. Of my 4 kids, all 4 have allergies of some kind. And it got worse as they came, the younger the child, the worse the allergies were. Why? Why is that? And we can say GMOs, we can say processed food, all that. My wife breastfed. We can say all that stuff. I don't know. But I always say it has something to do maybe with the amount of jabs little kids take. I don't know. You don't know. No evidence says otherwise. We don't know. And people are just like, comfortable with this? I'm not. I want to know. What is it going on when you get those jabs? What is happening? The long-term effects, the long-term ramifications. People's like, the science, it's not. All right, what was I getting ready to say? The 4% rule. Again, for simplicity. So for you all are the bubble, I was listening to a Tim Cook interview, the lady from Smith College, Jody Shaw, I think is her name. She's a white girl just being abused, a white woman being abused because she's white. It's crazy. And I'm sitting there thinking, maybe that's happening to you or about to happen to you. And if you're watching my channel, I have an obligation to say, maybe you can freaking leave and start your own freaking thing, man. Start your own jam, as all the cool kids say. Start your own jam. Why be exposed to racism that's directed at you? Screw that. Those days are behind us, but they're not. They're coming back. And the only way to fight the beast is to remove yourself from the beast. So again, the 4% rule. You're going to spend each and every year. Your spending increases each and every year inflation. That's simply not true. There's no evidence that this happens. Now, could it? Sure. Lots of things could happen. But you're making your financial planning and retirement planning decision based on something that has no evidence for? Doesn't make sense. And so what actually happens is most, like I said yesterday, most people's spending goes down as they age. So you can see this called a delta. You can see this gap right there between the 4% rule and the reality. And that's why Ty Bernicki said the reality retirement plan in his article in the Journal for Financial Planning in 2005. Because the reality is this right here. So if I'm saying I need, $30,000 a year to live on after in Social Security and pension, I always forget my calculator. I don't know what that is. Would that be 1.2 million? We got divide that by 0.04. I think it's $1.2 million. All right. So I need to have $1.2 million by the time, we'll just say I'm 60 years old. Oops, hope that didn't mess up too much. I need to have $1.2 million by the time I'm 60 to generate that $30,000 a year I need based on the 4% rule. And you're sitting there thinking, I only got $270,000. My goose is cooked. And I'm like, well, do we really need that $30,000, eh? Or I don't know. But where are we getting that $30,000? So let's focus on this first and foremost before you start focusing on this. All right, so what if we do need that $30,000? All right, well, you're sitting there thinking there's no way I can retire because I need the $30,000. All right, well, and the reason you're saying $30,000 is because you're assuming it's going to go up each and every year with inflation. I'm saying maybe that's not true. Maybe it starts going down each and every year because most people, that's what happens for. You have a house that's paid off, that's a big deal. Maybe you don't spend nearly as much as you think. Maybe this 30% is based on an 80% replacement ratio, of which is silly. That's the whole point. We don't know. So we start with this number right here. We say, okay, maybe it's not truly $30,000. Maybe you only need $15,000. All right, $15,000. So if we go to the 4% rule, we say now you need $600,000 because that's 15,000 divided by 0.04 is $600,000, and that would be assuming that your money goes up with inflation each and every year. I'm like, yeah, I don't know so much. I don't think that's going to happen. So let's just say we do a reality retirement thing. We run the delta there between the 4% rule and whatnot. Maybe in that case, you only need $450,000. All right, because we assume his spending is going to decline, and of course you'd have to make sure it declines. And you're like, oh, I can do that. I got 270, 450. I can work another 3 to 4 years, as opposed to just being frustrated and taking it. I can do that for sure. And then we start saying, by the way, that $450,000 that you're trying to get, you're $270,000 away from it. So we just factor whatever it would be to take to get there. I'm just using that for example. Oh, by the way, you also have equity in a home. Interesting. Can we use that equity as part of the scenario? Yeah, why not? You're not going to move, or maybe you are going to move. I don't know. Well, we could use that equity, so now that reduces it to $325,000 that we need. So now you're basically 1 to 2 years away. It's a whole different ball game. The whole point is to challenge the orthodox. Just because it's orthodox doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean you should use that as your default. It always starts here. How much do we spend? Are we truly going to spend that each and every year with inflation when we retire? Where's the evidence? Where is none? Never mind the fact the 4% rule is just a safe withdrawal rate anyway, concocted with numbers that was impossible to use. You could not use that anyway, but just using the 4% rule as a safe withdrawal rate. The safe withdrawal rate says that's the maximum you could take, having never run out of money, with a 60% S&P 500, 40% intermediate government bonds rebalanced annually. You inherently could not do that. It's an impossibility to do that. As such, stop it already. Stop it. Let's focus on this right here first and foremost. Then we focus on how much we have to get this. That's where you got to focus, not on how much you have and how much can you spend from that. How much do you need and how much do you have? That's why I'm upset. That's why I challenge the 4% rule, because it's a lazy man's financial planning. It is, and it drives up the wall. All right, love to hear your thoughts. We'll see you.